Welcome to another episode of Recreation Rooster, a podcast for health and wellness enthusiasts.
Yes, yes.
I'm Dan Chiavo again, and with my co-host myisha Jones. Nice to see you all. Today we're going to start off with the quote of the day, as we usually do. Therapeutic recreation empowers individuals to overcome challenges and live life to the fullest. So,
Wow. Could you say it one more time for our viewership?
therapeutic recreation empowers individuals to overcome challenges and live life to the fullest.
Oh, I love that. It brings to mind the whole concept of recovery and rehabilitation when it comes to recognizing and managing and overcoming challenges. But it also, when you said living life to the fullest, it made me think of skill acquisition and optimal functioning, which are all benchmarks of the recreation therapy scope of practice. So I love this quote. It's really just clear and straight to the point. I think it's a great quote for pitching RT to different agencies and different consumer populations as well. What's your thoughts on it, Dan?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, that's what we kind of do is help people kind of overcome challenges, expanding their comfort zone. That's where, those safe challenges are kind of where life happens, where that's where people grow, is by
That's
taking
so
on
true.
those safe challenges.
That's
And
so true. Life is so dynamic. And if it wasn't dynamic, it would be pretty boring, right? So we really have to embrace those moments when we have the unknowns, the ambiguity that comes with addressing the unknowns, and keep a positive outlook and keep a positive view of self and our own capabilities. And then also acknowledging things that we should work on, things we may be deficient in, things that we can improve, and then just constantly always looking at the cup half full instead of half empty, which is one of the things I love so much about recreation therapy is that we are one of the allied health professionals that take more of a strength-based approach to therapy and to care. So I really do love that quote for today's episode, episode 11. Also, too, I wanted to mention to the viewership, thank you so much for your patience as we load up episode 11, which was slated to be on air on March the 11th. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to slide that on in with the upcoming episode to stay on task. Let's go ahead and do our song of the day.
yeah, 5 o'clock somewhere by Jimmy Buffett. So when everybody looks forward to 5 o'clock end of the workday. So that's oftentimes that's when we get to really enjoy ourselves and have leisure.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, even thinking about happy hour, right? The whole concept of happy
Mhm.
hour is that it starts about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Really recognizing the time to unwind and connect and socialize and partake in your leisure interests with others in a jovial manner, right? I can imagine how many different venues and bars and restaurants have become, harmonious and social spaces during those hours and have made tons of money based off of it, right? Because when we socialize, we don't just talk, we also eat and drink and laugh and enjoy stimulating entertainment and experiences with one another. So I love the fact that, Jimmy Buffett found something that could resonate with everyone, at least in American culture for sure.
Well, yeah, oh yeah, no doubt about it. That's yeah, definitely something I love.
Yeah, so if you do get a chance, fellow viewership and recreation therapists, play that song in your respective communities with your clients and see how well it resonates with them as well. And as you guys know, Jimmy Buffett is a well known musical recording artist all over the world, internationally renowned artist, very talented. a man who has, I would say, timeless music, music that everyone can resonate with, even to today. Absolutely. So thank you for that song of the day, Daniel. And
Yeah,
next,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, what do you call it? I almost would play it myself, but I know that we've also often have had technical difficulties with stuff like that. So, yeah.
yeah, we hope to get an opportunity to even flash the words on the screen so that you can kind of see as far as when it comes to lyrically how it's so appropriate to use in our respective spaces with our clients when it comes to connecting and talk about the importance of leisure and socialization with one another.
Especially if you're working with people who have 9 to 5 jobs. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, our next segment is pushing forward actionable steps in advocacy that can advance the profession forward. So, with this one in particular, it came near and dear to my heart now being available and ready to take interns at Greater Los Angeles Veterans Affairs in Los Angeles, California. So, I was thinking about some of the many barriers that RT, prospective RTs, meaning RT student trainees, are experiencing when it comes to one, connecting with a internship site, and also just having the ability to go and having the ability to sustain themselves when it comes to their daily needs with housing and stuff while they're at these particular sites. So with that being said, I thought one way that could definitely advocate for the profession is for a recreation therapist to sponsor a incoming recreation therapy student trainee, meaning dollars, meaning offering a room for them to stay while they're there on their internship, meaning gas cards, meaning I would even say gift cards to local restaurants for them to have something, some money or some resources for food. And all the other small things that come with uprooting yourself from your college campus or from your family home to go and pursue your passion, to go and pursue your passion of completing the very last step that's needed in order to graduate with your Bachelor of Science in Recreation Therapy. You think about all of the sacrifices that RT students make and the intentional nature of even applying for a degree in the field of recreation therapy. And then you get to the last part where you need to do your internship and you're short on resources to complete it. So that can be very stressful and taxing for RTs. So as we mentor RTs, we should also sponsor RTs so that they can have the skills, resources, and knowledge base and guidance available for them to be not just completing, but successfully completing. What's your thoughts on that, Dan?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, of course, sponsoring it, that's a big thing because I know there's most of the internships are unpaid. And I mean, for a lot of people, that's not an easy thing to deal with. So, because you're
Right.
essentially working full time without getting paid. So that's a lot.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And in very large metropolis areas, like for instance, where you live on the East Coast and where I live on the West Coast, housing is a huge hurdle
Yes.
to climb, to jump over. When it comes to ensuring that you can not only get the internship, but come over here and be safe and secure while you're learning, while you're training, while you're getting those clinical skills that are needed for you to be a competent therapist. So, with that being said, RTs in the respective areas, just think about that. If you have RTs that are coming to your city, to your town, and they need sponsorship in some sort of way, a safe room to stay in, even just, write a check, send a gift card, send a gas card, anything that we can do to facilitate them successfully completing, that right there is an actionable step towards the advocacy of our profession in a major, major way. So consider that.
Yeah, I mean, it will be very much appreciated. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and the return on investment is right away in a matter of, months. You will be able to see how instrumental you were in helping that recreation therapy student trainee to complete their studies. That's very gratifying. We do have several internships, not internships, but scholarships that are in place by our collectives, meaning ATRA and NCTRC. However, we all here at the grassroots level, we can all play a part as well, to help people in our respective regions. And that is something that I hold near and dear to me as far as being a recreation therapist and a philanthropist. So I myself, even though I'm having interns, I am going to, for who we select to come, I am going to offer some sponsorship to the RTs that we do have come to our VA, because our VA unfortunately doesn't have any funds to give them a stipend. So, it's up to us to nurture each other and lift each other up when we see a need, not just wait for large institutions or our national collectives to do it on our behalf. All of us can be a vessel and a steward of change and edification for the recreation therapy profession.
Yeah, oh yeah, no doubt about it. And every little bit helps, and I mean, I'm sure it will be very appreciated. Appreciated.
Absolutely. So, guys, our next segment, so excited about it. It's behind the numbers segment in TR. Take it away, Dan.
Right. Well, and in my home state of New Jersey, there is only, I looked all over. It seems like there's only one recreational therapy college preparation program. That is Kane University in Union, New Jersey. Um, that's a big issue. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, as far as I've seen, we've only have one in the whole entire state. So
Wow.
and it's a big state, aging population. I know that programs at places like uh, Montclair State University, I believe, had a program at one time that went under. Same thing with Fairleigh Dickinson University that went under. Um, oh, Rutgers, I believe, may have had a small program. I know of somebody, I think they said, who graduated from there. But really, it's going backwards when it should be, when this is a profession that needs to be expanding.
I
So,
agree
um,
100% on that.
right, and I know, you know, I believe in the state of New York, there's seven recreational therapy preparation programs in colleges, universities. Even that's not enough, really, for that whole big state, especially. So, I know that NYU had a program that is no longer as well, and there might be others. So I'm sure there are others actually. So that's a big problem. So for those of you who might have influence or interested in starting a college preparation program, please do so, please, because this is very, very much an issue, and that we've gone a little bit backwards in a way as opposed to going forwards.
Yeah, so we're seeing a trend of closure of programs, and we see that New Jersey only has one at this time. However, there's going to be a major boost in the demand for recreation therapy services as our baby boomers all go into retirement. I believe it will be in 2030. Am I correct? Pretty much
Yeah.
less than what, 6 years from now,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
right.
Which affords us opportunity to graduate at least one to two graduating classes if they have a traditional 4 year or 3 year college experience for the Bachelor of Science. Yeah, and so the question to be had is, we do know that there are universities and different agencies that are looking at this trend. They do know that there will be a huge boom of retiree communities all over the United States. They are our largest voting class right now, too, as well. So it makes you wonder what is being taken into consideration and what professionals, what health and recreation and leisure professionals are going to fill that need, and what will be the quality of the services that they provide. We want to be the ones to fill that need. We want to be the ones prepared to provide quality, competent, marketable, competitive services to this demographic and to their respective communities at large. So we want to always advocate for there to, one, sustain the recreation therapy programs that are already in place, and to expand them is the goal.
Yeah, I know, as well, the, only two colleges out of the 64 schools in the SUNY system have recreational therapy. SUNY Cortland and SUNY Rockport. Um, so that's, a low amount, I mean, really, as well as there's, I think, only one at least who grants bachelor's and master's degrees in the CUNY system, the City University of New York system. CUNY Lehman, I believe, is the only one that I know of in the CUNY system. So, that's, yeah, we need to be heading in the other direction of expanding programs, not
Absolutely.
closing
Yeah,
them.
I agree.
Mhm.
And also, just really taking it down to the dollars and cents of it all, the
Yeah.
grassroots efforts of going into schools, meaning grade schools, and going into community colleges, and doing community outreach and engagement so that we can show the value asset of going into a career such as recreation therapy. Because, the schools will do it when they see the demand, meaning they see students that are willing to go in and pay tuition to learn these skills to become recreation therapists. So this is a multi-pronged process and campaign that needs to be in place to ensure that we can sustain our current programs and also expand, meaning add new ones and elevate the ones that are currently, established as well. So yes.
Yeah. I mean, I know other states might be having the same problem. I think Florida State University has closed as well, their program.
Hmm.
So it's a problem. Yeah.
That's
So,
right. That's my alum, Florida State University. It was absorbed by sports management, and then it got dissolved as well. So these are things that we really need to take a closer look at. And I'm really hoping that we can get an opportunity with our larger collectives to come up with a strategic plan on how to manage external and internal factors that contribute to this trend that we're seeing now. And it's really going to take some very honest dialogue, some very intentional and objective research, and then just some really, hard nosed, straight to the point, very direct actions to pivot. Um, Conversations that we might not be so comfortable having, but needs to be had. Because trust you me, other professions are having those conversations and have been having those conversations. Just recently, I did see a few marketing materials from occupational therapy where they have now began a campaign of advocating for occupational therapists to be hired for activity-based interventions. Um, and as we do know, activity-based interventions were added into their scope of practice a little bit under 10 years ago. So we must understand in our strategic planning as recreation therapists that we need to have 10-year, 15-year, 20-year, 50-year, 100-year plans when it comes to ensuring that we can remain viable and sustainable. And, embracing our learning institutions. They are not standalone institutions, but creating a consortium amongst our learning institutions so that we can ensure that the workforce that we push out is competent, professional, innovative, is essential to ensure that we can be viable, not just fiscally viable, but also be a value asset to any agency and any consumers, and that we can delineate our services from others. If we don't, we will be absorbed and pushed out. That's just the nitty gritty of it all, and we have to take ownership of our part in that as well. So we need to galvanize and push forward and have a strategic plan in place.
Yeah, I mean, we need to be pushing for strategic plans. There's power in numbers, and that's what we all need to band together to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that behind the numbers.
Mhm.
So our next one is below the surface, recreation therapy subcultures. So today we would love to showcase the pottery, aka ceramics arts subculture, which you guys know has many multi layers to it. Many of us have purchased ceramics and pottery. We have used them for their functional nature, but also for their visually aesthetic nature when it comes to the decor of our homes. All of us have come across children and young adults that have utilized pottery as gifts to one another and to family. We have also utilized pottery as a therapeutic modality when it comes to interventions that help to reduce stress and anxiety and to reduce isolation in populations as well. And there's so many different facets to pottery and ceramics. And so many different skills that must be embraced and learned by the recreation therapist, whether or not we're using castings to actually make our pottery before it's glazed and fired in a kiln, or we're going and buying it from a vendor, as well, and then and then having them deliver it or going to pick it up as well. To even the safety protocols that are in place when we have programming and we hand off this pottery and this glaze to our clients, and then also too, the safety protocols that come into place when you're dealing with kilns and other fire curing devices, which can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And then just the whole thing of product procurement and ensuring that you can have accountability in place when it comes to storage, proper storage. Let's even talk about the money of it all. Putting a proposal forward where you have the monies to have a sustainable ceramics and pottery program at your respective locations. So there is a vast subculture when it comes to ceramics across many cultures. I think it's beautiful. I love looking at finished work. I love connecting with 3D artists. You see ceramics and pottery in the Louvre, fine arts for millions of dollars, and you also see it at your local craft fair. So, what's your thoughts on that subculture, ceramics, Dan?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's a great opportunity to be creative in a little bit of a different way, kind of too, in terms of creating different shapes and sizes and colors, using colors and other items that can make it look really nice. And of course, I've often done it in a nice basement, kind of. It's always seems to be held in like a nice basement where I've been and stuff, which is kind of nice and cool in the summer and everything like that when the weather's very hot out and stuff. It's not the worst place to be. So.
Yes, I know here in Los Angeles, I have attended a few pottery classes, and we do have our spinning wheels and stuff, and we tend to have it on rooftops.
Oh,
So
wow.
we can really connect with, have a large, airy, bright space to connect. And of course, we all sit on very small stools as well. You sit low to the ground. Many people have um, great experiences with one another in a circle as
Okay.
well, doing
I like
pottery.
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
And that offers
Any
a sense of unity and everything too, the circle. Yeah.
Yes,
That's good.
absolutely. So yes, we wanted to just highlight ceramics subculture, keep building, growing, and giving us beautiful functional artwork as well in the form of ceramics and pottery. And our next segment is Fast Facts and TR. And today we are going to talk about meeting and event planning skills. One thing people don't think about when they think about recreational therapists is our ability to have these skills for special events, meetings, and event planning, and the large array of logistics that comes with those skills. Many RTs have the ability to be very task oriented, to think about logistics, to do project management, and many utilize different software and apps to make this more efficient. We're not only community advocates and community liaisons to connect our consumers to resources in their respective areas, but we also put on great events for our clients and our clients' families. So with that being said, I definitely wanted to highlight the fact that many of us have very strong, long-standing meeting and event planning skills, and you should actually have that on your resume. And that is something that you should always express and elaborate upon when you find yourself in a situation where you are interviewing for a job, where you are proposing a new program. These skills are valued tremendously by agencies. It's also a great way to get some more money added on to your compensation package as well. It's also a great side gig. I know a few RTs that they do clinical practice, do a regular 40-hour work week, but on the side, they do meeting and event planning, and they make Google gobs of money doing that.
Yeah. It's a great skill to have. I mean, really, our skills are so versatile and so easily can easily connect in many different areas.
Yes, indeed. Okay, our next segment, guys, is cornering the market. And this segment is about tips for success in therapeutic recreation private practice. And today, what I wanted to speak about was transportation and the liabilities and the disclosures that should be considered when you are a recreation therapist in private practice who wants to transport your clients from point A to point B in facilitation of your sessions. Okay. I would oftentimes say there's two things to consider. If you are an independent RT versus if you are RT that is working for a firm. Now, let's start with the first one. If you are an RT that is working for a firm, one of the first things you need to ask before you sign to work for them as a subcontractor or an employee is, do I have to transfer? Do I have to transport any clients in my personal vehicle? Super duper important that you do ask that. Some firms, they believe that it is de facto, meaning that, yes, all of our contractors do it. We expect you to do it too. So if you are an RT that is okay with that, please understand that that will drastically change your personal insurance. So you will need to disclose that to an insurance company. Also, too, you need to consider certain things. Your car may need to be cleaned. There may be things that might occur that are outside of your control while you're on the road. God forbid a car accident or something even worse. And then also consider this, when you are driving, your ability to engage with the client as a therapist is is greatly inhibited because now you're focused on driving. So be very clear about it, especially being a consultant working under a firm. Be very clear about what your role is. So if you have a 2 hour program with a particular group home and you're taking 2 to 3 clients on a community reintegration outing, and your drive is 30 minutes one way, 30 minutes the other way, were you really engaging with the clients for those 2.5, 3 hours? Or were you fulfilling the role of being a driver for a portion and then a therapist for the next portion? So just think about those things. Me personally, when you're working for a firm, I would always discourage you being the driver and you doing the transport. There are many, many resources out there that are in place. Most residential facilities already have their own driver and vehicle. You can access disabled access transport through the metro transportation departments in your respective cities and towns as well. And we also have non-emergent and non-urgent transports that are in place through private vendors. Understand this when it comes to the owners of these agencies, they have the monies that are in place to ensure that they can give access to their clients. So don't necessarily take on the burden of being the person that does the transport. Now, if you are an RT that works under a firm and you don't mind transporting, then get the proper protective things in place in the back of your car and ensure that your car can handle the capacity of transporting a person that might be by wheelchair, and that you're able to do the heavy lifting of lifting that wheelchair in and out of your trunk as well. That things are in place, that you are able to safely secure the client in the back seat with the seatbelt, that you have the staffing support that will be needed. If you need staffing support to come along, that you have the space to provide for the staffing support. So there's a lot to consider. Now, if you are a independent, meaning that you don't work under a firm and that you do direct to business or direct to consumer services, I would encourage you to have a service agreement with several vendors that do offer the transportation, or write the stipulation in your service agreement that you do not transport, or if you do transport, it's through a certain square miles from the residence. That way you don't find yourself in a situation where you're doing a whole lot more transporting and less therapy. Okay. So with that being said, that is our quick segment on transportation, liabilities, and things to consider, and things that you should disclose to um, the consumer, the agency that you're contracting with, be it if you're working for a firm or if you're an independent recreation therapy consultant. Yes. What's your
Yeah,
thoughts on that, Dan?
that's super important. It really is. I feel like sometimes your uh the people in your car may be covered, except if you're using it for business purposes. Uh that's where it gets tricky in terms of transporting people. So
Absolutely. And that's the thing, that's the big thing people have to remember. So you find yourself in a situation where you're working for an agency and they just kind of like tell you, oh, we're going to do great programming, we're going to pay you this much money, and all you have to do is go and pick up the client and take them here. It's not as just simple as go and pick up the client and take them here, especially if you have not designated on your insurance that you are using your car for business, meaning transporting clients. Because trust you me, if you get into an accident and they find out that you were using that car for business, and the owner of that group home or that residential facility or that intermediate care facility or that SNF um, finds out that their client was in an accident in your personal vehicle, they're going to ask you for your coverage. Trust you me. So it's one of those things where you don't want to get dropped from your coverage for not disclosing to your insurance company. You don't want to get yourself into a legal bind that can cost thousands of dollars for transporting a client when that agency, that facility gets monies to do that. They get monies to contract with vendors to do that. So don't get yourself caught up in that. I know we hate saying no as recreation therapists, and we oftentimes go beyond what we're supposed to be doing. But I would say when it comes to transportation and all the unknowns that go with putting someone in your car and driving, it is in your best interest to say no and and, um, and have a few alternatives in place to ensure that it can be done safely, professionally, securely, right, and comfortably for your clients. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, and of course, most facilities, especially a skilled nursing facility, has the
Yeah.
resources to have their own uh, transportation. Or I've also contracted with bus companies through when working for a nursing home. But independent uh, group homes and that type of a thing ought to also have their own vans and stuff as well. So I mean, of course, if you're uh, if you're a contractor or even an employee, it is probably true that even is well, there might be less risk driving their own van. I'm assuming, but maybe not. I don't know. So if driving their
Less risk
van,
of them
whatever.
driving their van or us driving their van. Which one you
Us
mentioned?
driving their van or whatever, since the coverage is through them
Oh,
at that point, probably. So that might be less
yeah, that's
risky,
true.
but yeah.
I would even
Mm.
encourage, for your monthly social calendaring to turn it in early and have it set up where the client meets you at the location. So if you're doing programming that's off-site, just set it up as the meeting location is the place that you're doing the session. That way you don't even have to
Right,
worry about coming to the residential facility and rounding them up. Let the staff that are trained and
right,
paid to do that. They can then what they will do is they will depending on what the staffing ratio is and the need, they will leave certain staff there and they will come back in 2 hours, whatnot, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then come pick up. But you want to really try to focus on what we are there for, the therapeutic interventions, the therapeutic engagement, not on the logistics of getting a client from point A to point B. Okay, so, and our next segment is nuts and bolts and TR. So I love this segment so much because we get to talk about, equipment and supplies that we use on a day-to-day basis in recreation therapy programming. And now with it being spring and so many socials and engagements and stuff and parties are in full bloom, I love to talk about party favor ideas, meaning these are the mementos, the tangible mementos that oftentimes are given to guests and invitees um, upon arrival or right before they depart after a lovely social engagement. And I've noticed over the years, a bag of candy is just the tip of the iceberg. I've seen everything from bags of popcorn to little fans to I've even seen cell phone chargers, little cute cell phone chargers, bubbles, I've seen little decks of cards. I love to give decks of cards out. So like poker cards and Uno cards, I love to give those out. I've seen T-shirts, socks. Um, let's name some that you've seen. You've seen some good party favors over the years, Dan.
Yeah, well, let's see. It's a lot of candy, that type of a thing. I guess I've seen like goodie bags, kind of. Uh, I've seen over the years. Um, Sometimes they have like lottery tickets and stuff like that. I've seen. Uh,
Oh, that's very popular. Yeah.
I know.
Water bottles.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I went to one particular social engagement that was put on by Dietetics at a former agency that I worked for, and they gave us these cute little plates that had proper portion sizes. So I found them to be so functional and handy, and they were aesthetically pleasing, and I still use them to this day. When it comes to dishing my own food on a regular basis. But I thought it was a great party favor. It made me immediately think about the agency, the department. It had a great logo on it. It was functional. It was useful to me. It was lightweight and easy to carry away as well. And like I said, I mean, it's been about 2 or 3 years I've had those plates, and they're very useful and durable. So I feel like there's just certain things to consider when it comes to a party favor. It's got to be something that you feel that your clients will enjoy and value, because nowadays people don't necessarily carry too many things in their hands and pockets because they got their phones in their hands and pockets. So it's got to be something that they feel like it's worthwhile of taking home. Also, too, it's got to be aesthetically pleasing to the eye. It's got to be durable, and it's got to be, I would say, functional as well. And it's got to be some kind of immediate gratification that comes from it. Oftentimes, that can be a beautiful graphic or design on it that is very aesthetically pleasing to them as well. I know oftentimes people do give flowers and plants as
Yeah.
party favors, depending on what the social engagement is too. So yes, just be as creative as possible with your party favors. Some people make a custom cup that might be used at the social engagement, and then people get to take it home. Or a reusable, washable, dishwasher safe cup as well. And then I always love getting little mementos like little jewelries or little, bangles or bracelets or earrings and things like that, or little hats. I love that you can always win with a hat and stuff as well. And I do understand that that means that you have to have the monies in place for that budget. You can also be creative in other ways as well. It gives stems of flowers away, different things, so people can take back to their respective rooms and use their own personal vase. And that way, they go in and out of their room, they can see that flower there, and it reminds them of the great time that they had. There was one more thing. We recently had a social engagement where we wanted to showcase aromatherapy. So we had scent bar. It was called the scent bar, and we gave little aromatherapy vials with little rollers, little cute ones that can be used for our guests. Something that they can use every day, easy to put in their purse or pocket. And the aroma that was put into the scent bars was similar to what was used at the day of the event. So it's just a great way to reconnect every time they smell that scent or that aroma. Yeah. All right. So our next segment,
Yeah.
and this is our second to last for episode 11, is the therapist friend. This is clinical considerations and tips and pointers when it comes to day-to-day facilitation of recreation therapy, especially in clinical settings. So, with that being said, we wanted to focus on open and closed program groups and the benefits of them. So, as you guys know, depending on what program you work in and the agency's thoughts about recreation therapy, some people believe that it is for everybody, and yes, it is for everybody. Let's be honest here. Oftentimes, depending on the functional status of your clients and their interests, there will be times when it is not for everybody, depending on what you're doing. So, with that being said, thinking about programming groups, if you have an open door policy where the first 15 that come in, if you have 15 spaces that are available and the first 15 that walk in get to stay and do programming, that's what you call open-ended. Open-ended programming is it can be considered very random. And there's certain, I would say, challenges that come with open programming. So when you have open programming, you also have to consider the acuities of each of your clients and also the appropriateness of them doing that modality within that intervention in that space at that given time. So if you have a modality in place or a group that's in place that doesn't allow you to have 2 to 3 wheelchairs in the room at any given time, then that means that you're not going to be able to accommodate the first 15 that come in. You might have to reduce that down to 12 so you can make room for 3 wheelchair clients to come into the space. And then also, depending on what goal needs to be attained, which symptom needs to be addressed, which behavior needs to be modified, what skill needs to be um, acquisition, you may have groups that may require a smaller number of attendees, meaning 6 to 8 attendees. And the groups may also be cyclical. They may be weekly or they may be biweekly, and it might be compounding, meaning the curriculum may build upon each other or it may be standalone. Now, those type of groups, I would suggest that those groups are closed groups that you pre-screen and you have a criteria in place before you have a person go into their groups. And also to that, for those groups, you also have a discharge or exit plan, meaning a graduation and a progression as well, so that you can allot space for others to get into the cohort. So I do like both approaches, open groups and also closed groups. They all play a function and they play a role in therapeutic recreation programming. What's your thoughts on it, Dan?
Yeah, we're kind of masters at including and accommodating and adapting. So to get all of the people to fit into a program. But that is true that there's times when, depends on the interests and strengths and resources of the individual, that there are certain groups and stuff that are more appropriate for some participants than others. So having that entrance and exit criteria is sometimes very important.
And also, being able to relay this to your fellow colleagues that might be outside of your discipline, because oftentimes we do come across situations as RTs where we may have other colleagues telling us what they think we're supposed to do in our programming,
Right.
telling us that we should have all the clients in our programming. I've come across situations where I've seen some RTs get bullied into having no cap on their groups, meaning they run a group and they have 25 people in the group when the space can only accommodate 13. And why? Because someone said that they could not have a closed group. Well, I would always advocate for RT to stand 10 toes down in your programming, designing your own programming, letting others know what the parameters and criteria for your programming are, and do not um, let someone who has not been trained in our scope of practice, who is not a recreation therapist, telling you how your programming is supposed to be done. We don't see any RTs going into any other discipline space telling them how their stuff should be done. So there needs to be mutual respect towards each other. And also, safety is always first, safety before treatment. So you do what is appropriate. You also take the due diligence as a recreation therapist to design your programming, to put it in writing. Don't just go off the cuff and say, oh, this is going to be free leisure day. No, don't do that. Have structured programming and then have some unstructured programming. And then for your assistants, have diversional activities that can be offered by your assistants and by nursing when you are not available. That's what you have in place.
Sure, yeah, and I mean, of course, there's, I mean, we do groups kind of regularly, and I put together protocols for different groups with and exit criteria and that type of a thing. So, uh, you could always do something like that as well. That
Absolutely.
involves like the clinical focus, the overall program goals, clinical focus, objectives, and entrance and exit criteria.
All right, guys. So the last segment for today is what we call our Recreation Rooster stamp of approval. This is a person, organization, or agency that we at Recreation Rooster find to be amazing, embodying the best practices, professionalism, and competence of recreation therapy, and that affect a positive change and positive outcomes for the consumers that they service. And with that being said, I wanted to give a Recreation Rooster stamp of approval for episode 11 to Miss Thea Kavanaugh, certified recreation therapist specialist. Miss Thea Kavanaugh is the owner and founder of Real Therapeutics LLC. They are based out of New Mexico. She is simply amazing. She has been a long-standing member and board member for the American Therapeutic Recreation Association. She has been instrumental in affecting positive change for the profession for many, many years. She is a consultant that is knowledgeable on lots of many populations, and I myself have even hired her as a consultant to glean information about best practices for recreation therapists in school-based communities. And she is simply amazing, articulate, progressive, proactive, and kind. So with that being said, our Recreation Rooster stamp of approval for episode 11 is Miss Thea Kavanaugh. And Miss Thea Kavanaugh, we hope to one day get an opportunity to have you on the Recreation Rooster podcast, to learn more about what you do and the things that you have in store. We really do appreciate everything that you do for the recreation therapy profession at large, and keep on going. And with that being said, guys, that is the end of episode 11 for Recreation Rooster Podcast. We want to thank you, viewers, for joining us. Please like, share, and follow. Please ask a friend to join. Please comment. We would love to get some interaction from you through the comments. As you guys know, Recreation Rooster Podcast started January of 2024, and we're going to keep it going. Dan on the East Coast and myisha on the West Coast, but we're worldwide, and we really, really do appreciate you. You're always welcome to reach out to us and get one of our amazing shirts, Recreation Rooster shirts. But you're always welcome to reach out to us. You can find me at myisha at recreationrooster.org. And my phone number is 213-524-6925.
Yes, and I could be reached at 845-987-0104, Daniel at recreationrooster.org. That's 845-987-0104, and Daniel at recreationrooster.org. Check out our website, www.recreationrooster.org. Like I was saying, grab a t-shirt and support us. We are thankful to have you all, and we look forward to seeing you next time.